Hello, good morning. Welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge, 5:32 a.m. Central Standard Time, Christmas Day 2022. Merry Christmas, everybody. And nothing says Christmas like George Dickel Superior 12 recipe. Well, sour mash Tennessee whiskey. Doesn't say straight whiskey. I don't know why it doesn't. Just like their rye does not say straight rye, just say rye whiskey. Okay, anyway, there's a whole article on the back. You can read it. Produced by Cascade Hollow Distilling Company, Norwalk, Connecticut. Well, that's the business headquarters for Diageo USA. It's a Diageo brand. They were bought out by Diageo, the people that make Johnny Walker and Crown Royal whiskeys. It's no longer called. It is no longer called the 12. They changed the name, maybe because of a lawsuit. People claiming that they thought it was 12 years old, or they just decided they didn't like it. It was introduced in 1964. It's called Signature Recipe Whiskey today. Same label, really. Kind of that beige, but it's got a different name as of like the past year. Specifics. It's 90 proof. I said 80 proof. Well, let me update I was thinking that, and then I said, nah, it's 80, but I was wrong. Both are whiskeys. So let me change it. Both are whiskeys. They're not both bourbon. Well, Tennessee whiskey really is bourbon, but I don't want to fight with these people. Introduced in 1964, 90 proof. Sour mash Tennessee whiskey, a Diageo brand. Kentucky Royal is Kentucky whiskey, is 80 proof. 80 proof. Kentucky whiskey with natural flavors, no website listing, unless you'd want to read product specifications, and I seriously doubt you do. No age statement for either one, so we know they're both at least 4 years old. 90 proof, it's 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% single malt, as they would call in Scotland, single malt whiskey. A number 4 barrel char, a number 2 head. That's the ends, the top and the bottom. Oh, so a number 4 is the alligator char, as they nickname it. Alligator char. It's very thick char. Now, what other products do they sell? They sell a George Dickel bourbon now as of the past year. They sell White Foundation Recipe, which is a clear moonshine, unaged, clear distillate. They have the classic recipe, that black label used to be called George Dickel 8. The signature recipe, the one I have here, the 12. They have the rye, which I also have a bottle of. There's the new George Dickel Bottle and Bond, kind of the cobalt blue. There's Barrel Select, single barrel 9-year-old, single barrel 15-year-old, George Dickel X Leopold Brothers collaboration blend, George Dickel times Leopold Brothers. It should be plus Leopold Brothers. Then there's the 17-year reserve. I've never even seen any of those. Price. Normally about $25 a bottle. I got mine for $12.50. True story. I don't know why Walmart had this for $12.50. I didn't ask. I bought it. And I've got enough left for quite a few more taste challenges. Daryl Macias, Merry Christmas. Ronald, same to you. Hector Lopez, Merry Christmas. Same back to you. BC's Beer Reviews. Oh, BC's Beer Reviews. Regardless of if it's a bottle or a can, he's going to be reviewing the beer, I do believe. But enough of the jibber jabber. Merry Christmas back to you, BC. All right, so the competitor. Got to get my label straight. The competitor, Royal. I like to know what's royal about it. I don't think any kings or queens around the world drink this stuff, or even princes or princesses or grand dukes. Finest quality. Well, it does have a royal blue name, so I like the way they did that with the gold, like the old French flag from the Bourbon Kings of France. May have something to do with that because, you know, bourbon is named after Bourbon Street, the Bourbon French Kings. Used to be shipped to New Orleans. And when at the time when bourbon was started in the 1780s, France had kings, the Bourbon family. So I guess there's a connection. Kentucky, bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. Oh, yay. It says from Kentucky Distilling Company, Bardstown, Kentucky. Well, it is a Kentucky Distilling Company, but it's not really called Kentucky Distilling. It's called Heaven Hill. You know Heaven Hill. They make Admiral Nelson rum, Christian Brothers brandy. They make Elijah Craig, famous Elijah Craig, and their biggest selling product, Evan Williams. And BC just reviewed Evan Williams' eggnog, which I plan to watch. I hadn't gotten to it yet, and I have a feeling he loved it. Not a cork, it's a rubber neoprene cap. Neoprene is that spongy rubber, synthetic rubber that they use at the bottom of the tennis shoe soles. So made by DuPont company, chemical company. Okay, the Dickel is darker. It's copper, and it's got no color added, and it's got no flavors added. And this one is golden, and it may have color added, but I doubt it, because they would say so, because they tell you it's got the flavors added. So why wouldn't they tell you about the color? I'm sure they would. Let's see. Heaven Hill, you know, they're pretty open about their stuff. Sour mash Tennessee whiskey. I got to put charcoal mellowed. Charcoal mellowed. That means it's dripped through charcoal. They got this big vat of charcoal by 10 feet tall, and it's packed together as tight as possible of different types of charcoal. It doesn't have to be any specific type of wood, and they drip it one drop at a time. And at Jack Daniels, the man told me it takes about 24 hours for that drop to go through. I think that's what he said. Anyway, it's a slow process. George Dickel is the company that developed chill filtering, though, an expedited filtering process, and they brag about that on their website, how they develop chill filtering, and they say it's such a good way to do it. And you know, other people say no, chill filtering's bad. You know, it's a big argument point, you know, with whiskey, but it is true. George Dickel did develop chill filtering, and it became a very common practice, you see. Okay. Tennessee versus Kentucky. Who's going to win? Tennessee's going to win today. I'm promising you that. And I'm going to tell them apart on aroma only. Right now, watch. Aroma only, I'm going to get it right. And here's a trivia question. Don't cheat and go look it up on Google or Bing. Does anybody know what percentage bourbon must have for corn? I said George Dickel's 84%. Anybody know what the minimum is? Anybody? This smells like corn. Musty, funky, fermented, and then distilled corn. I'm serious. 84% corn. It ought to smell like corn, huh? Huh? I just ate corn grits. Maybe a mistake to eat corn and then review liquid corn, you know. This smells like corn, but it's not much aroma with it. It's just like a dead note. Yeah, I can smell the corn and I can smell the oak barrels, though. Yeah, I'm not saying Royal has no aroma. It just doesn't have much aroma. Oh, the price, $7.99. True story. I bought that at Ralston Liquors in Houston, Texas. Ralston Liquors, $7.99 for a full bottle. That was not the sale price. That was the regular price. And they must have had 24 bottles on the shelf. I said, wow, must be a big seller around here. Are people buying it so they can sip it neat by the fireplace? I'm pretty sure that's not the case. They're buying it so they can mix it with Kool-Aid, you know, or orange juice or some very basic usage. And it seems to work for them most likely. So they have the same kind of things around in Louisiana. Not this brand, but they get that. We get that Heaven Hill Quality House Kentucky blended whiskey in Louisiana. Every store sells it, and that's why people buy it. They're not sitting there putting it in a snifter, warming it up in their hands and like, oh, the intricate notes of Kentucky whiskey. No, I'm pretty sure that's not happening at $6.99 a bottle. On the other hand, we did add some to our founder's CBS, the CBS Canadian Breakfast Stout, and it enhanced it. We thought it made it better. So never know. Kentucky to Canada. All right, taste. Oh, I got it right. So here is, on aroma only, I'm telling you this is George Dickel Superior Recipe, number 12, or the whatever they call it today. There it is. Got it. Got tags. See, I put tags below. That people tell me, well, I live alone, or they'll say my wife won't cooperate. She'll say, why you got to do all that? You get that kind. So they say I can't do it. A blind taste test. I say, yes, you can. You just make little tags. You put them below at the bottom of the glass. You mix them up really well. Now, if they're different shades, you don't look. Common sense. Mix them up really well, and then start doing it. Yeah, you can do it. Now, if you're too lazy to do it, that's different. That's your problem. But it can be done. Yeah, it's starting to smell like Flintstone vitamins. Taste. Cheers. Merry Christmas, y'all. That is a weird product. Mr. Dickel. A weird product. George. It tastes like Flintstone vitamins. I don't know why it tastes like Flintstone vitamins, but the other one I have does too. Cascade Hollow, the red label, which is out of production currently. But they didn't say it wouldn't come back. This says out of production at this time. That's a 3-year age, 80 proof. Wait till you hear the price I got on that one tomorrow. But already did Tuesdays, y'all. So don't look for one Tuesday. Too much going on this week. Tastes like Flintstone vitamins too. Strangest thing, let me tell you. Is it a bad flavor? No. See, I would never get this wrong. You can tell the 90 proof. It's coming through strong, hearty, resilient, indefatigable. Okay? You can tell that's 90 proof, baby doll. No doubt about it. And you can tell it's sour mash because it got that sourdough bagel flavor like Linder's. Okay, not Linder's, Thomas sourdough bagels. I'm just joking. I don't know which one. All right. Over here, I think, and I certainly do not know, nor will I ever know for sure, but I think the flavoring, I'm still getting that burn from that 90 proof. Whoa. I think the flavoring, y'all. Okay, y'all, it's time to get nice. I think the flavoring is vanilla. Could it be nut oil? It could be, and that's natural. If you got pecan oil from pecans, that's a natural flavoring. It has to come from the nuts. Vanilla, it could not be artificial. Now, if you ever been to the grocery store, they got the artificial flavored vanilla from McCormick. That's the big spice company. But they also have natural vanilla extract. Costs twice as much, but of course, common sense is natural. That's what they would have to use. And that would only be allowed because it says natural flavorings. It doesn't say artificial flavorings. And I said this yesterday. I got into arguments with people saying, I majored in science in college. Okay. I took some science classes too. That's really not a relevant point because I read the Tax and Trade Bureau guidelines and I read the Food and Drug Administration chapter on artificial versus natural flavors. Now, the guy that I was arguing with, his point was, oh, they're just lying. I said, oh, really? Can you back that up? Well, naturally, he could not. If it's a natural flavor, it has to come from a natural source, okay? As simple as that. I mean, I'm sorry if you're angry or whatever. It can come from leaves, bark. It could come from some chicken liver. I don't know. It's a natural animal. It could come from oil, essential oils, like peppermint oil. It could come from anything in nature. Okay. Now, some people say, yeah, but some of that stuff comes from like snail shells or whatever. It's still natural. A snail is natural. You don't invent a snail in a laboratory. It's just crawling around. Artificial flavors are concocted in a laboratory with various chemicals to mimic a real flavor. So if you buy some pancakes and it says artificial blueberry flavoring, that means it's not made with real blueberries. It's got a flavoring that tastes similar to blueberries. Okay? Got it right? Got it right, kids? We're going to give you a test later. I hope you pass. Okay. So I think they're using some kind of natural flavoring like that. Vanilla, nut oil, almond oil. You see, almonds, I think, are too expensive for a cheap product like this. You think they would really use almond oil for that and sell it for $7.99? Something tells me no. It might just be sugar, like some kind of cane sugar that's kind of unusual variety, but they could get it real cheap on a commodity market that's making it taste like that. I don't know. Or it could just be rum. You say, well, hell, excuse my language, on Christmas morning of all things. But you say, well, Heaven Hill makes all kind of rums. Well, I don't think they make rum, but they get rum from the Caribbean through contractors. But fine, yeah, I get that. Could they be using white rum and adding a little bit to it? They could be. They could be. Like it says on the Tax and Trade Bureau website, NTE, not to exceed. I think it says not to exceed 2.5% of the volume. It's got to be an HFC. HFC is a harmless flavoring coloring. HFC, a harmless flavoring and coloring. The coloring caramel is not going to harm you, no matter what that woman on the internet said in 2014, getting everybody scared. She was saying, oh, yeah, caramel color is a carcinogen. It's going to cause cancer. One company, Newcastle Brown Ale, stopped using the caramel color because of all this hysteria. Turns out she was basing it on, nothing. She didn't have any evidence of that. She had read some crackpot article about it. Okay. Do I like the Royal? I like it, but it's not much to like. You understand? The flavors are so mild, they're so vacant and neutral that it's there's not much to like about it. But what the flavors you do pick up are nice. There's no off-putting flavors, and there's no nasty flavors. So that's one good thing. It's got no weird flavors like the George Dickel with that Flintstone vitamin. And then there's no negative off-putting, offensive flavor. So would I recommend it? Yeah, for $7.99. I tried it. I figured there's no downside. It's like there's no risk factor. I can't go back 6 months later and say, man, I wasted $7.99 on that bottle of whiskey. Nah. Now, if it had been $37.99, okay, now we have a reasonable complaint. But it was so cut rate. So yeah, fine. Okay. Dickel. I like Dickel, number 12 or whatever they're calling it now. What do they call it? Signature recipe or whatever. All right. Still that khaki label. But I'm not in love with it. I'm not thrilled with it, okay? Do I like the strength? Yeah. It's a hearty 90 proof. I don't like to go above 90 proof. It's a hearty, resilient product. You can taste the corn. I'm not too sure about the rye and the barley malt, but I guess you can. It's all blended together very well. Much like a Canadian whiskey. Now, some people got conniption fits. They got psychological cognitive dissonance. What I mean is, they'll be talking about bourbon all day long. Bourbon, 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 bourbon. That's all you hear They're saying it like a broken record. Bourbon, bourbon. Okay. I do enough bourbons on this channel, so I know what you're talking about. But man, if you say Canadian whiskey, they flip out. They catch a seizure and their eyes go wild and they come at you with a weapon. It's like, what is the issue, man? Don't say Canadian whiskey. You know, it's brown vodka. Well, it's not brown vodka. A child would have to think that. Only a child would say that, or a person with a child's mentality. The truth of the matter is Canadian whiskey is very similar to bourbon in almost every way. It's almost always mostly corn. Usually it's almost always corn base, sometimes 80%. And it's blended with wheat sometimes, just like bourbon is sometimes. Rye almost all the time, much like bourbon. And barley malt whiskey, single malt whiskey. Then it's aged at least 3 years. Well, you know, in the United States, bourbon doesn't even have to be aged a year. I mean, it typically is, but doesn't have to be. Just has to be aged to an extent in a new charred oak barrel. Now, the thing that's different about Canadian whiskey is they often age it in used barrels. Okay, so instead of new barrels, they put it in used barrels. That makes a difference. Don't have to. They can put it in new charred oak barrels, or some of the Crown Royals are. And they're allowed to add flavoring, like this bourbon here. They're allowed to add flavoring. Don't have to. Don't always do it, but they're allowed to do it. And they're allowed to add coloring, you know, like caramel. So you see, those are the differences. Now, do they have to add coloring or flavoring? Certainly not. So to get a conniption fit over Canadian whiskey and then talk about how you love bourbon is childish, because they're in most ways the same. But you can't call it bourbon unless it's made in the United States. That's it. I can make two bourbons identical. One in Detroit. Somebody told me bourbon has to come from Kentucky. That's a myth. That's not true. I could cross the river 1 mile in Windsor, Canada, and make the same product and could not call it bourbon. Why is that? It's not from the USA. I'd have to call it Canadian blended whiskey. It would be a blend: corn, rye, malt, and or wheat, or all whiskey. Okay, get it? See, you can learn on this channel. This channel is a learning channel. It's not a drama channel. Okay, although I've had to deal with drama, but that's from dramatic people, not from me. I was just all about tasting the whiskey and the beer. That's my whole goal. I told them that. I said, I'm really into I'm mostly into tasting the beer, wine, and liquor, and saying, what do I think about it? That's the truth. I'm not into all of this other, oh, well, he said I was presumptuous or something. I was like, okay, well, so a lot of people say a lot of things. The question, did you like the beer? You know, let's get past all that. Well, he said he voted for this guy. Okay. Yup, on all counts. Merry Christmas, cheers, says end of the world. Okay. BC says, I don't know. Hi, Ron, Merry Christmas, keep on trucking, says Bill McIntosh. I will keep on trucking. Woo, woo. Because I was busted down in New Orleans, set up like a bowling pin, knocked down. Okay. Beer Hounds Beer Reviews in California says, good morning, Ronald. Good morning to you, Beer Hounds, California. Great state, or it was at one time. I've been there. Okay, number of times. 700 watching, only 300 likes. Hit the like button, everyone. Mr. T deserves it. Thank you, Craig. I 100% agree. Sorry for the typing area. That's okay. Good morning, says C note. A C note. I take that as an insult, Rosado. Okay, now. So cheers. Michael Corleone says hello. You will not be able, fire wheels burning in the air. Okay, Merry Christmas, sir. I look up your reviews on every beer I try, says Joe Biden's Dentures. Thanks to you. Thanks, everybody, for supporting the channel. Going 12 years. It's a good start, a 12-year start. We're not at the middle. We're just at the end of the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So What's coming up next? What's coming up? Like a flower. Y'all need a love that lasts forever, one that will never fade away. Okay, I'm here to help you with your problem, and it's called Louisiana Beer Reviews. What has this channel given me, says Craig Swinson? Not money. He says an understanding of IPAs and an appreciation of the Grateful Dead. Grate, not great. Not like it's great, but great. Grateful, Grate. But I get you. The Grateful Dead. Yep. The Grateful Dead. Because I'm driving that train high on life. Louisiana Beer Reviews. You better watch your speed. Trouble ahead, trouble behind. And you know that notion just crossed my mind. All right. Okay, now. We got more bourbon coming. We got more bourbon coming. We got the George Dickel Cascade Hollow. Won't be a challenge. We got the Stedman Select from Buffalo Trace. Won't be a challenge. Then we're going into blended whiskey. Oh, that could be a problem. Then it's off to Canada, off to the Dominion of Canada. We're going into the British Commonwealth. What good whiskey are we going to bring from the British Empire? I don't know, but we're going to find out. Now, anybody want to see Orangey as we close out? A Christmas Orangey appearance. She's been sleeping, but you know how cats do. This feral cat. Anybody want to see Orangey going once? 12 years. Congratulations, man. That's a great whiskey. No, I mean, the channel's been on for 12 years. This channel has been on making videos for 12 years, what I'm trying to say. Orangey going once. Orangey going twice. And Orangey going. Oh, well, you've seen Orangey before. All right, so she's sleeping here right there. Oh, let's see, says Craig. Let's see. Yeah, cat time. All right, come on, Orangey. You too sleepy. Come here. Get those claws unhinged. She's trying to grab. Oh. There she is. Look at that fat belly. I think a lot of male cats were hanging around, and I don't know what kind of comedy she was playing with these cats. But anyway, I know that her belly seemed to be getting big. What do y'all think happened? Orangey, what do you think happened? Why was Blackie coming around? Blackie, the black male cat with the white paw. Why was Creamsicle coming around? The orange and white cat. Can you give me an explanation? She doesn't care. Look at that belly. Okay, well, you jump down and do your thing. All right, Orangey. All right, so totally orange too. There's no white or black hair anywhere on that cat. Every hair on her body is orange. And the strange thing is she's a female. And somebody told me, you know, female orange cats are very rare. I said, yeah, well, one showed up here, buddy boy. All right, thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas.